Tonight on Podcast 'em Down, we watch the essential prequel to Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Hail, Metal Nation! You're listening to Podcast 'em Down. This is the Star Trek, the original series, Rewatch, once again, with me, Tim, Matt, and Doug. And once again, I have not watched the episode. I will be watching it as you talk about it. The fade out never works.
It kind of worked that time.
I gotta change the intro on. So I have a special Star Trek soundboard for stuff like
oh, okay.
You know, so I don't have my normal things, but there's like and
oh right,
let's get out of that room. I still have that.
Whoa.
Yeah, I forgot about
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have that one as well. So anyway, I have a special one for this. Anyway, man, that's a long tricorder scan.
That's a long tricorder.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up the episode, and
okay.
I think something's already wrong.
Have you started already?
Yeah, I think I got the wrong thing.
Nope, no, you didn't, because what you're seeing is a radar room, circa 19.
I'm seeing a U.S. Army Air Force plane.
Oh yeah.
Wait, when was the Air Force founded? It's an Air Force.
1947. It's the Air Force. Don't worry. You're seeing a probably.
It's almost the military.
Are you seeing
it was already checked out?
Yeah,
it's the Air Force.
Let me know when the real pilots show up.
You're seeing an F-104. Well, is that a Navy aviation thing?
Maybe.
You're seeing an F-104 starfighter is what you're seeing.
Even the Marines are better pilots than the... Anyway.
Holy shit. All right. Well, welcome to...
Oh, a klaxon. Get on with it. I've already seen the radar screen, and now they're scrambling, and I don't know what's going on. This isn't Star Trek.
And the planes do park. They have these cool circular concrete carports.
Yeah. I mean, it's some pretty good stock footage of an air base. And so we're at an air base. It's 1969.
Yeah, it is.
We there's a bogey on the screen. There's scrambling fighters. We don't know what's going on. And this is a very strange opening of a Star Trek episode. There's no captain's log. There's no anything. It just starts. It's a very cold open. The coldest of cold opens, in fact. And has the pilot made a crazy discovery? Okay, so the pilot...
No one can hear my nod. Yes. I'm already in the title sequence.
All right, well, don't forget to pause it before the end of the title sequence.
We'll see what happens.
So it's a very quick trailer. The F-104 starfighter climbs, and through the clouds it sees the USS Enterprise, but not the aircraft carrier with the spaceship thing.
You know, they speaking of aircraft carriers, they are scrapping the USS Enterprise, and they're going to name a new carrier the USS Enterprise.
Oh, nice. That'll be yet another USS Enterprise.
Yet another one, yep. Anyway, are we done? Should we go to the thing?
Anything to say about this quick teaser, Doug?
Just do anything?
Sorry.
The F-104 was an innovative plane, had a long service life, and isn't featured in too much, but it's more of a deliberation room comment. So let's go.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to bring a gimmick this time, but I didn't. So
well, please don't, because the cleaning bills after the last time we were in here were astronomical. So I appreciate you not bringing any chips or drinks or anything. Doug, remind me.
Why was the Enterprise like steering when it was flying? Isn't it a starship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I also like the fact, I believe we all watched the remastered version of this, and yet I feel like that opening shot of the Enterprise was the shittiest thing I've seen in the remastered version so far.
I have to go back.
Yeah, either it's not I mean, they do comment that the helm's a little sluggish, but I don't. It's like, are they covering up the bad model work?
Yeah, or are they just trying to simulate the distress that the ship is in? It didn't look great.
Do we know the aerial displacement of the Enterprise? It could be very lightweight.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what is titanium? I guess it's light but dense. I don't know.
You're the scientist.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's true. Lots of engineering in this episode, by the way. But right now, we don't have much to go on. Doug, remind me, I have an F104 comment the next time we're in here, but I can't say it right now. I don't know. Let's just give this shit some scores.
All right.
What is it?
I can jump in.
Okay.
5 and 5. No.
5 and 5.
7 and 7. I'd love a 7 and 7, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I should...
maybe
we should stop down and I can make myself a 7 and 7.
There's a UFO. It's what are they doing in the past? They scrambled the almost military. It's pretty good. It's pretty metal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think 7 and 7 is fair. It jumps right to the point. It gives us a mystery. I like the innovation of not having a single shot from the Enterprise's perspective. This reminds me of later great opening teasers, like that one where Commander Riker is stupidly captured as an alien. I think it's in season 3 or 4 of Next Generation, but it's just like, what the fuck is going on? I'm lost. Did I click on the wrong thing? Has Star Trek been canceled?
Right. Apparently, the base is near Omaha, Nebraska. How depressing would it be to go hundreds of years back in time and then be over Omaha?
Well, I mean, for Kirk, he's not that far from home, right? Isn't he from like Riverside, Iowa or something? So that's probably just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Seeing if what air defense TV series have been made.
Oh, man. Does Airwolf count?
They must have made a SAC TV show.
Oh, man. If they do, I would watch every episode.
What kind of bogeys on the radar each week? Yeah.
Hey, I just noticed, Matt, you got a pop filter, or you got a foam thingy over your microphone. Give us some plosives. Let's try it out.
Peter Parker picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Hey, not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
You don't have to exercise any mic technique anymore.
No, I mean I'm a fucking
maybe
professional.
Maybe the bare minimum amount. Perhaps.
Right, this gets a 4 and 4 from me.
4 and 4. All right, I respect that, Doug.
What'd you give it, Matt? I wasn't listening.
I gave it a 7 and 7 too, but mostly because I was thinking about 7s and 7s.
You're right. I'm gonna go down to 6.5 and 6.5.
Okay, that's fair. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to change my score. All right, let's scramble our way out of the chamber.
Whoosh. Start talking. I'm watching. They're flying.
Okay.
All right. So I took my notes weeks ago, which isn't weeks ago to the viewer. It could be months ago or
years,
days ago, or years. But I have noted, so we opened with all systems down on the Enterprise. We'll just read the captain's log for fun. Mm-hmm. Captain's log, stardate 3113.2, subjective time.
Mm-hmm.
We were en route to Starbase 9 for resupply when a black star of high gravitational attraction began to drag us toward it. It required all warp power in reverse to pull us away from the star, but snapping like a rubber band, the breakaway sent us plunging through space, out of control, to stop here, wherever we are. Boy, do they land in a random place.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that this implies that despite the fact that it occurs in space, relative dimension matters. So going backwards propels you backwards in time. Perhaps.
There's some interesting rubber band stuff we'll get to later on.
Yeah.
But I guess, the seas of time, it all kind of flows to one place, which right now seems to be the skies of Nebraska.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so
it's like a Stephen King novel.
Oh fuck! Oh my god! When
are we going to do the Dark Tower? The movie, not the books.
Okay, thanks. So everything is all herky jerky. They're on impulse power. They have a debate if Mr. Scott is still alive.
Yeah, that was dark. He said
it's really weird.
If Mr. Scott is still with us, we'll have auxiliary
Spock kind of violently returns Uhura to her seat,
and then takes her ear thingy too.
Well, it's also strange because Captain Kirk very gingerly helps up Sulu, but there are other people all on the floor that he could give a shit about.
He only needs one pilot.
Like Spock helps up Uhura. There's another crewman on the other side of the room that no one helps up and is still on the floor, despite the fact that they've been talking for minutes.
Probably an
Yeah. So they discover ultimately, Uhura says there's no regular comm chatter. Spock said something weird that they were heading in the direction of Earth, so that's where they ended up. Again, I'm not sure if that's how space works, but Uhura can't hear the Starfleet control signals, even though they should. And then they ultimately hear something on a weird radio band about the first manned moonshot that's going to take place in Wednesday, which is weird because it does. And so the writer of this episode, DC Fontana, correctly predicted the day of the moonshot.
What year was this written?
So this is written in 65 or 66. So it aired in January 67. So it had to be written in 66.
It was. I bet it was an educated guess and just lucky that it was so close because all those missions were planned out, not exactly secret.
Yeah, but I mean the fact she gets the time wrong. Like it says the time, she gets the time wrong. But it's just kind of this fun coincidence.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And it was 1969, right? It was July. So you could imagine it could have easily bled over if conditions weren't right into the early 70s. But she says it's the late 70s, late 60s on a Wednesday. And so that's pretty cool.
The year was right. It was 69, not 68.
It was 69, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Well, this is kind of some Star Trek backwards guessing. They don't say a year in the episode. But because it's a Wednesday of the moonshot, they retcon it to be 69. But they don't actually, they just say it's the late 1960s.
But that's still 1 and 7.
Incredibly shocked that they would end up exactly there.
Yeah.
He was bewildered.
Yeah. Okay.
So they recognize that it's they don't seem to know that it's a starfighter, but they recognize that it's an interceptor pursuing the Enterprise, which is in the atmosphere of Earth. And we tell in the teaser is not particularly equipped to this Enterprise. The Kelvin universe Enterprise seems to be more acclimated to operating in a planet's environment. This one less.
He's right.
It's kind of wobbly. They believe it could be armed with tactical nuclear rockets. I have noted here, Matt, what did I mean? The Air Force commands to the Enterprise are kind of conflicting.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be ordering it.
Oh, maybe you do need mic technique.
I was coughing, asshole. I muted because I have good mic technique. Yeah, they seem to be ordering it to stand down, but also ordering it to be escorted. It doesn't really seem clear what they want. Another fun thing, just another fun fact I'll drop here, is that even though the F-104 was designed to carry an air-to-air nuclear missile, it turned out that the system they designed for it to carry the contemporary air-to-air nuclear missile didn't work. So this is the only contemporary U.S. fighter that couldn't carry a nuclear missile. So that's pretty good luck. Maybe they didn't publicly release this in 1966. Yeah, so Spock seems worried that this little tiny fighter jet could damage the Enterprise, maybe because the ship is so broken. But it doesn't. It seems to belie everything we know about the Enterprise.
Well, we did see what that old style nuclear weapon that the Romulans detonated did.
That's true, but that should at least be 200 years more advanced. I always imagine those to be fusion bombs of some kind. But yeah, I guess that's true. So Tim, you're well versed in military tactics.
Am I?
Yeah, you are. If there's a fighter coming towards you, what do you do? And you have a starship.
Evade.
Okay, no. The answer is turn on the tractor beam for some reason.
Right, which apparently is bright.
Oh, it's very bright. Yeah, he puts down his sunshade, and the tractor beam is.
What I like about the F-104,
it's probably an atmospheric effect of the tractor beam. You know,
it's like ionizing the air and blasting it with radiation.
That makes much more sense.
All right. I have a lot of thoughts all at once.
Okay.
The F-104 is called the Starfighter, which is pretty cool. You glossed right over that. I like that detail. It was also a supersonic jet.
Mm-hmm.
In the 60s, which is pretty neat. They sold it to tons of people. Tons of countries all over the place. And who's they? Lockheed. They built 2,500 of them. All right, now back to the radiation thing. Are you aware of the blue glow?
Oh yeah, the Chernoff radiation.
Yeah. There are some theories that it's actually the goo in your eyes ionizing.
Oh.
Because it doesn't show up on film.
Oh dear.
Isn't that ridiculous? So if you see it, it's because your eyes are being cooked.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So they do the tractor beam, and he's like, it's so bright, and he puts down his little shades. I'm like way ahead of you, so I had to pause it. So.
Yeah. Okay. So apparently it's destroying the airframe because it was mass produced by Lockheed and not built to tractor beam tolerances. Apparently the airframe is breaking up. They debate what to do. They decide to beam the pilot aboard rather than just let him die, which frankly would
finish your thought.
Frankly, that would have solved the entire conflict of this episode if they just killed the man.
When they beam him aboard, he's standing up. Wouldn't he have been in like a sitting position?
Well, I want you to pay attention to the various attitudes of people as they're beamed up and down in this episode, because I noticed that too.
So he went from sitting down in the cockpit to being beamed up, standing up, but facing the wrong way.
Right. So what the fuck does the transporter do? And that will not be the first or the last time we ask that question in this episode, because there's lots of Thomas Riker bullshit going on.
They don't seem to. We'll see this in a second, but there's really a lack of the temporal displacement isolation protocols, which, given the frequency, maybe this is sort of the start of such events. But they really don't seem to have clear protocols and just kind of wing it to interesting effect.
So first of all, Doug, I think that this is the timeline before Agent Daniels went back to the Scott Bakula Enterprise during the temporal Cold War. So I think this is just the first run of the timeline. And if you remember the guys from Temporal Mechanics complaining about Kirk in that Deep Space Nine episode, I think this is the beginning of his bullshitting around with time. Certainly not his last. So I guess that makes sense. Maybe this is the first Starship crew to ever be in this pickle. So maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, and they do seem to be a little more lax on security protocols from what we've seen so far. I mean, we do learn that what's the planet in the menagerie?
Talos 4.
Yeah, so that's super secret, though everyone knows about it. But if you talk about it, that's capital punishment.
Right.
Still, the one thing. But otherwise, they're very open. It's an open book because this is a different world full of responsible people.
So
Captain John Christopher, USAF, is beamed aboard.
Very important. He holds the same rank on the starship as a lieutenant.
Well, no, that's actually going to come into play.
He's an Air Force captain.
Right, he's an Air Force captain. He's what is he? He's an E2.
Yeah, he's
no,
down
O2.
there. He's
an
pretty
O2.
expendable, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, maybe not. Being in the Cold War, he gives his name, rank, and serial number. He is surprised that Kirk speaks English because I guess he assumes he should be speaking Russian or something. He's immediately a misogynist and shits his pants because there's a woman on the ship, which which boggles his mind.
He also he's also like, what's up with Spock's weird skin color?
Well, yeah, everyone in this episode,
dude, he's just like, he's yeah, I don't know. It's not working for me. But he also asks Captain Kirk, did the Navy the Navy made the starship?
Yeah, it's just and
because he knows the Air Force is shit.
But like everyone seems to be really shocked and appalled by Spock's look. And maybe this is like a Gene Roddenberry thing where we're supposed to believe that Spock looks a lot more alien than he does on screen. But I'm like, Spock doesn't look that different from
he's got pointy ears and a dumb haircut. That's it.
Well,
yeah.
Gene Roddenberry is just sort of cackling, imagining the Baptists of the South being offended by a satanic character.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone just accepted him as an alien.
It's like, okay.
I like how apparently you have to twist the thing in the turbo lift.
Oh yeah, that's how you know where to go. We hear our second ever mention of USPA. Captain Christopher is taken aback by the notion of United Earth, like some whatever bullshit that means. Kirk weirdly says that Captain Christopher should get out of his flight suit and get into something a little more comfortable.
Right, but it would just be a uniform replicating his exact
relative
rank.
I'm not sure, Doug, would you count this as an official bootleg? I was expecting him to wear like the weird like karate uniform that we actually see Chief Kyle wear in this episode, but like the leisure suit thing they wear. But no, they just give him a Starfleet uniform with lieutenant stripes because he's a lieutenant in Starfleet. No explanation. No rationale.
I guess there's some reciprocity, like, understood.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he. It's like NATO. They recognize ranks. Okay. Do we want to talk about the computer now?
Yeah. So. Yeah. The computer gets kind of salty with Kirk, and Captain Christopher comments about woman computers in the future, and we learn that I guess the Enterprise had been in dock at a planet, a matriarchal planet, and the women of that planet, very strong women, had reprogrammed the computer. So it turns very sultry and needy.
Yeah, and so it answers everything right away, dear. Yes, dear.
And it seems that a woman computer is still a novel thing at this point, something that we know changes in another 70 years.
But yeah, at this point, it's an embarrassment annoyance. And Captain Christopher really has a lot of fun laughing at his captor's sexy computer. But then because he really knows how to set a mood, Kirk tells him that they will never send him back. And Spock says he checked history and no one gives a shit about him.
Nice.
So if he disappears, it's A-okay.
Well, they explain why the computer is all ladylike.
Yeah, because it was on the lady planet.
Right. That's where they got it repaired.
Over Net 14, a planet dominated by women.
But I just love Kirk saying, "You don't matter, so you're gonna stay here with us forever."
And I have on my notes, Kirk is off, empathizing with Captain Christopher and tolerating Scotty's editorializing.
Yeah, Scotty says some bullshit about he can fix again, this is classic Scotty. Like, he's like, I could fix the engines in 4 hours, but where the fuck are we gonna go? Because there's nowhere we could go in this time. Wait a minute.
Impressive laziness.
You could go to Vulcan, because Vulcan has definitely had interstellar travel for centuries, and you have a fucking Vulcan on your ship, assholes. You could go to one of the many identical Earth planets you've categorized and just hang out there. You could even just go to fucking Earth and live in Australia like Captain Picard planned to do in First Contact. But no, and Christopher smugly says, "You're stuck here too, asshole." And that's the end of the act.
Yeah, and I guess we're meant to empathize. Well, let's go into the decision.
Yeah, let's go in the decision chamber.
So, I don't like this guy. The first thing he does, that guy, Captain. So, it's Captain, we won't miss you when you disappear suddenly from Earth. Mm-hmm. The first thing he does when he gets to the bridge of the ship he's a guest on is go look for wieners and skin colors. It's just like, yeah.
He's a man of his time.
I don't like it.
Yeah, and they extend so much to him. Acknowledgement of his rank, free reign of this ship, and he's just kind of an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
While that could be metal, I don't think it is metal. I think he's just an asshole. You know, there's multiple types of assholes. There's metal assholes, and then there's this asshole.
I think Tim Score would be a bit different if he was a Navy man.
Yeah, if he was a naval aviator.
Well, then he'd be competent.
Forrestal.
He'd be competent, and he wouldn't have been stuck in the tractor beam to begin with.
If he was just an asshole because he knows what he's doing.
If he was an A6 Corsair pilot, Tim would be like, he did everything by the book, like a Navy pilot should.
He followed his training.
I know this is an act. So, all right, Jumping back to the teaser, the first act.
Mm-hmm.
No, this act. So how is the Enterprise? So I guess they didn't have clear visual on the Enterprise yet, but okay, so the Enterprise accepts the escort. So how long a runway does the Enterprise need to land?
Well, I don't think that Enterprise ever intended...
Zero.
I don't get the mechanics of it because I get the sense from the shot that the Enterprise is stationary and just wobbling, but the fighter is coming in, so maybe they just assumed a parallel course or something. I don't understand the physics of it.
And I guess it could give optical illusions, so they think it's much smaller.
Yeah. I mean, they just said it had closing range, but we don't know actually how far out they were from each other. So I guess it could be fairly far. Like the range of the tractor beam has to be hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Right? Maybe?
Yeah. Well, and maybe because we know the Enterprise of the Kelvin universe, which is a hardened war spec Enterprise, can go in and out of gravity because in fact it was built in Riverside, Iowa for no reason other than
on the ground.
J.J. Abrams literalism. Yeah. When this Enterprise was built in the star docks in synchronous orbit above San Francisco.
Exactly. And if you actually, it can go more than just an atmosphere, because I believe it can go from under the water to the atmosphere to space. No problem. Lickety split.
That was a Futurama joke. When they went to the lost city of Atlanta, they're like, how many atmospheres can it handle? Well, it's a spaceship, so I'd say anywhere between 0 and 1.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Maybe this Enterprise can't handle going any further into the atmosphere. I should know all my layers than it is, and that's why the threat of the tactical nuclear weapon is there. It could take the hit, but if it gets knocked off, all that air displacement and it could break up in the air.
I also still think it's something to do with the damage they had sustained, because I think in the next act or maybe in this act when they're in orbit, they say the deflectors are up now and they're no longer detectable by radar, which actually goes against something in Star Trek 4, but we'll ignore that. And we'll just say that that's because the ship was broken. But once Scotty fixed it, then they're all good and they can survive a tactical nuke strike with the shields up, I guess.
All right, let's throw some numbers down.
All right. Come on, Mr. Number.
I was waiting for someone else to go.
Okay, I'm going to give it a 5 quality score. There are things I like about it. There's things I don't like about it. It's fine. I'm going to give it a 6 metal score just because of the haphazard act, then think attitude of literally everyone in this act. Whether it's gasping that a woman is walking by or deploying a tractor beam on an antique airplane, no one's thinking, everyone's acting, and that's pretty goddamn metal to me.
Yeah, I agree. And they're not only acting, but they're failing and not realizing it. Like they put a tractor beam on that plane we know very little about that has nuclear weapons. And then it breaks up, and then they respond to their own poor decision. And Captain Christopher's just kind of an asshole. Like, they invite him in, they respect his rank, they not only respect it, but have some kind of understood reciprocity and give him free access to the ship and the official uniform. And he's just kind of a jerk to everyone. And then they can't wrangle their woman computer up at all. Like, Kirk's just ineffective at managing anything. Which is kind of metal because of their lack of self-awareness across the board.
I'm gonna go with 5, quality 3 metal. I like how they kidnapped someone from his time, but he turns out to be a fucking loser.
All right, let's get out of here.
You don't want a poser walking around your fucking ship.
Oh, just wait.
You're gonna do more poser stuff, wearing Cracker Jack clothes, not leaving the hall. This is some bullshit. And he's not metal for reasons I explained earlier. So it could have been metal since they kidnapped him. But all right, let's get out.
Okay, so we're back in Kirk's quarters. We see him actually recording the log this time. So he has a little box he talks into to record the log. The computer is sassy to him again. And again, he just threatens for the computer to be scrapped.
That's just a good prank, though. I like this.
I don't know what
they're fucking with him. They got a sense of humor.
He also uses the word compute in a way I don't understand. Maintenance note: my recording computer has a serious malfunction. Recommended either be corrected or scrapped. Compute. And the computer says, computed. Like, what the fuck is being computed?
It's like hitting the enter key. Yeah.
I guess. Okay, Captain Christopher is missing. Oh no, Spock calls and said, I have some important new information. Let's go talk with Captain Christopher. They go to call him. He's not in his room. So what has to be happening, Tim? If someone's not in the room, what are they doing?
I wasn't paying attention.
He's running around and stealing a phaser and knocking people.
He hasn't stolen it yet. He's just he's
skulking.
Skulking's a good word. Okay, he stole the phaser. He beat someone and took the phaser. Yep. That's why you don't have posers on your ship. Wait. Why is there a guy with pajamas coming out of the
Well, that's what I think Captain Christopher should be wearing. Maybe the wardrobe got confused.
It's okay. Kirk punched the shit out of him.
There is a unnamed quartermaster in this episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, the quartermaster was the one who gave him the clothes.
Yeah. No wonder they have Scotty give the stuff out usually.
Yeah. Well, Doug, this is clearly the episode in which the quartermaster got fired for giving him a uniform. Why are you going to make the most important person on the ship able to be anonymous and inconspicuous?
Right.
They should give him a bright green hat.
And Kirk's too trusting of a manager, a leader here. He just is okay. I guess that's what he should be wearing, and then he'll question it till it's too late.
So now they're in the sick bay. McCoy is trying to fix the shit that has been beaten out of him by Kirk. And they have a discussion. Spock has discovered that even though Captain Christopher is still a nobody loser, they might need to send him back because his son will, in the future, head up the first successful Earth-Saturn probe, which Spock notes is very significant. And Captain Christopher, even though he said he has kids, is sort of taken aback because he doesn't have a son.
Wouldn't that be Voyager?
No, I don't know. Manned Earth-Saturn probe? I don't know.
Well, and there's an interesting moment just a second earlier where Kirk rejects human potential.
Oh, because he couldn't be retrained?
Yeah, if we don't get back to where we belong, then he won't belong. We're roughly about the same age, but in our society, he'd be useless, archaic.
They basically call him an idiot. He can't ever learn. He'd just be adults. We couldn't even replicate him a Game Boy or something.
Yeah. And then they have all this discussion right in front of him. So it's more pointless contamination.
Yeah, stop.
I don't have a son.
Stop talking about the future in front of this guy. Okay. So he's happy he's going to have a boy. They go to the briefing room again. I don't know why they are.
Of course, he's obsessed with whether people have dicks or not. Like, I get boy.
I guess I understand why he's happy that he's going to have a boy since he's a clear misogynist. Right. What I don't understand is why Kirk and Spock insist in including him in all the mission briefings. Like, all right, how are we going to fix this? And he says, again, I don't understand this at all. He got some pictures of them. Air Defense Command will be processing the film. It's okay. They haven't found the wreckage, or have they? And they are worried about the wreckage because his body's not in it.
Question: when they turn off the tractor beam, so earlier they said they turn off the tractor beam. Was it just like holding on to like a pile of wreckage at that point, and then they turn it off and it just falls?
I guess so. Air traffic control had his radio transmissions. I don't know if those said anything about the Enterprise. They somehow have the film.
It says right here, Spock states that the biggest problem they must deal with is that Christopher's plane wreckage landed in open land. So I guess they just dropped it everywhere.
But okay, like, why couldn't they just find his wreckage and assume he ejected? And he's like, there's a totally probable reason why he wouldn't be with his wreckage. Maybe the pictures are a problem, I guess.
And Spock's certainty here is fascinating because he says, Captain, our tractor beam caught and crushed an Air Force plane. It'd be impossible to explain this as anything other than a genuine UFO. Possibly alien, definitely destructive.
What? How? How do they know that? It just seems like weird suppositions. And so the only thing, the only plan they come up with is to wickedly contaminate the past more. Is like, let's just send a lot of people down to the actual surface of the Earth. Let's have them snoop around in sensitive military installations, and everything will be A-okay. And steal a bunch of tapes and film, and that will make all our problems disappear.
Right. Based entirely on the assertion that the Air Force has located the wreckage, the film survived the impact of the tractor beam and whatever ionizing effect it may well have had on infrared film. I assume infrared, and based how they're dressed later.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
But also, who gives a shit about a picture of the Enterprise? What is it? Nobody knows. It's just a picture of a thing that's weird.
Kind of blurry.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here's the thing. How big is it? I don't know. There's no reference points. What is it? I don't know. It's just 3 pictures. Let's talk to the guy. Can't find him.
I like how the 498th Air Base Ground Air Defense Command has a fucking trophy case.
Hey, man, they're the best fucking air base in the sector.
Well, I do like the apparent reverence, but yeah, I mean, there's some reverence for the Navy of this one country that was sort of significance that they kind of remember because they're very well-educated people, but they also have this interesting reverence for the obscure Air Force of this one country that existed a long time ago, too, and seem to really appreciate the little details when Kirk and Sulu beam down.
So they beam down. They start
walk by the trophy case.
Yeah, they walk by the trophy case. They start rummaging through stuff. And they start looking for things.
The first appearance of the space flashlight.
There's the space flashlight. Yeah. There's the space man bag. They're stealing tapes. And of course, Staff Sergeant Asshole walks in. I like his beret. I don't know what this actor is doing. He's definitely doing something. But yeah. So they get interrupted. He corners them. They give him all their shit. Back on the ship, Spock and McCoy are freaking out that Kirk hasn't called in yet. So what do you do when someone's in a perilous mission? You just put their beeper on blast.
The guy in the pajamas is still there.
Yeah.
He looks like Prince Daemon from the new Game of Thrones series.
It kind of does.
He does.
Okay, so his beeper starts
beeping. That is a purple uniform if I've ever seen a purple uniform. I know. What a stylish beret.
Yeah, I was meaning to look it up. Did the Air Force actually dress like sort of land Navy men in the 60s?
It looks like it's the fashion police.
Like,
give me your man purse.
I'm like the
he's taking his man
with the ivory on it we see later.
Like, there's no way that's a legit Air Force uniform, right? Like,
oh no, 100% is.
I mean, I don't see any berets.
I want a closer look at what those trophies are actually for.
Okay, so obviously,
I bet it's not athletic, is what I'm getting at.
Hey, look at this! I found a female uniform for a female enlisted person in the Air Force in the 1960s. What? What the hell?
Don't tell Captain who's its name.
So all kinds of shenanigans happen.
His shit.
And it gets somehow the staff sergeant presses something on the communicator or opens it up and gets the emergency signal. And he gets beamed up in the most ridiculous position.
See, but he was still in the position and he's still not facing the right way.
Right. So again, I don't know why the transporter didn't correct his posture. But here we go.
I like how they're just like, it's just a comedy of errors. Spock's approaching this guy. Is going to comment on his skin again.
Well, I think he's just fucking horrified that there's a person who's slightly swarthy approaching him.
Lots of eyeshadow.
Yep. And that's the end of the act. And if you're wondering, it does have like a dwank dwa, like kind of music out cue.
All right. There it goes.
Well, I'm not going to say it's it's not the worst act of this episode.
Oh, is that still coming?
But it's certainly not the best.
What I give the last one?
You gave it a 3 and a 5. 3 metal, 5 quality.
I'm going 5-5. No, 4-4. I like how they solve their kidnapping problem by kidnapping again.
Yep.
And I think I'm coming around on the female computer because I've decided it's a prank. And it's a good prank because it clearly pisses everyone off.
I think you need to write a memory beta style novel about how Kirk pissed off the women of Signet 14 by trying to grope them all.
Didn't they?
Well, there must be a novel about that answers this computer thing.
So earlier they're like, "Oh, no one misses him," but then later someone goes, "Oh, but he actually has a son later." Why were they wrong the first time?
It's a future son. He hasn't had the son yet.
Yeah, but didn't they look into it and they're like, "Oh, no one's gonna miss him," and then later they go, "Oh, you're gonna have a future son."
I think Spock didn't look into the future, only the current.
Spock just looked at Spock just looked for his Wikipedia page and didn't find anything. It was like, well, that guy's
He
nobody.
didn't click through to anything. Okay.
Right, exactly. He didn't see the C also.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm right. So if your numbers don't agree with me, you're wrong.
Yeah, I think all the like kind of weirdness, like how quickly they surrender to the guard, all that, they're just not, they're kind of off, but they're off in a vaguely metal way. Again, just their lack of self-awareness throughout this episode is very metal. So I'll go with a 3 and a 4.
4 metal or 3 metal?
4 metal.
4 metal, 3 quality. I'm afraid of Tim, so I'm just gonna give it a 4 and a 4. Because I don't want him ridiculing and belittling me, especially since he criticized my mic technique earlier. And like, I agree. Everyone just seems to, maybe it's some kind of like temporal psychosis, but everyone just seems to be an idiot. Like, no one is making a good decision. Everyone's just talking about how we can re-educate people. The only character I like is the sassy computer. Yeah, I think you're right. I do. You know what? I'm gonna have to give it a 4.5 because I love that beret. But that's all I'm gonna do.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
Can't believe we're like barely more than halfway through this episode.
It goes quick, and actually we'll get a chance to travel backwards in time, so we'll end before we started. So Kirk has not learned his lesson.
Oh, did they give this new guy the uniform equivalent to his rank?
Yeah, no. So Kirk and Sulu almost got captured. The guy beamed up, so they immediately just start snooping around again. And they go into the dark room.
He's still doing this.
Yeah.
While they get stuff from him, he's frozen.
He's petrified. They go to get the film. They set off an alarm.
Wait, when they're stealing the tape, how do they know what tape they're stealing?
Shut up.
They just took one of the reels off one of the computers.
Shut up, Tim. It's the only real... Oh, well, I mean, that was...
Maybe it was labeled.
Radio. I guess it's just the radio transmissions of the day.
Trophy case.
Personally, I would think that a missing computer tape would be a lot more suspicious than just random wreckage, but what do I know? And
those Air Force guys
might have been in the end of the last half of the last act, but with the people who are developing the film, they come out wearing like lead aprons.
Oh, that's what they were wearing. That's what I was.
That's here.
Yeah, they just walked out wearing aprons.
With film, but do you wear aprons when developing film, or is this special? Like,
well, maybe. I mean, there's chemicals involved.
Yeah, maybe it's some kind of like
keep your purple uniform nice.
Yeah, your dress uniform.
Yeah.
The officers, well, you haven't met the officers yet, but they're all wearing ascots and dickies again, which is kind of great. So, believe it or not, Kirk gets caught again. But Sulu was luckily beamed up. Why they didn't beam up Kirk, who knows?
There's a very interesting and poor tripwire system here. They've made it all the way to this point, and then they set it off. So Sulu is in the room, and Kirk's like, "I've got this." And it's very interesting. Like, I guess now what the military's train is, what's the Israeli martial art, like Krav
Maga,
right? That, or modified judo. But, the world has changed in the 23rd century, and it's not just about take man to man. It's all kinds of aliens. So Kirk uses, from our perspective, a very weird martial art that's undoubtedly designed for 8-legged aliens, because, people don't fight in the future. It's very very uncommon. You'd be fighting a humanoid. So when the guards rush in, he just goes crazy with some moves that seem to emphasize like a lot of movement and that minimize the incapacitation. But I'm sure it would work if these were like centipedal monsters, something like that.
Yeah, or like Klingons, right?
The guards are using a lot of Three Stooges type movements. I oughta.
The way Kirk just goes flying into three of them from off camera, like he just hurls himself.
So Sulu beams up in the melee with the tapes, I guess. But Kirk gets captured. We have a great interchange with Lieutenant Colonel Fellini, who is just a total dick.
But he's not even a dick to the extent that he should be, right? Because they don't restrain Kirk, and their working Kirk over is rather ineffective.
I also like that the airman behind Fellini, like the guard, has like a cowboy gun in his holster. Like it has like a mother of pearl handle or something. It just seems out of place. It doesn't look like a service pistol, and I don't know why it's here. This seems like the worst place to put your service pistol, Mike technique.
Dude, you did that the exact same time McCoy smacked the table.
Yeah, see, I'm that fucking good. So yeah. So they're all fighting about what to do. It turns out that they look at the photos and it doesn't even look that bad. So it was all for nothing. They could have just left it there. There's a long, tedious interrogation scene between Kirk and Fellini.
Looks like he's sitting in a barber's chair.
He might be sitting in a barber's chair. I actually don't remember how they get Kirk out. Do you remember, Doug?
Kirk, they beam down. Does that happen to the next act?
No, that's all this act.
Yeah. So, right, because Kirk, so there's that whole thing. Kirk says he's a little green man, and then Fellini's like, with all this, I'm going to lock you up for 200 years.
Oh, that's right.
Kirk's like, sounds about right. And then we have an interesting moment here where the air trooper in the transporter room, I don't know if they just swapped out units for this scenario, but the transporter guy asks him if he wants any food, and they use the transporter room replicator, I think, for the only time in the show. Yep. But you might need it, to get your cowboy clothes or whatever you wear and wherever you're going. Yeah. They beam down. Captain Christopher insists on coming with Spock and Sulu, and Spock's just like, yeah, okay, I do believe you. And so they beam down, and then I guess the one guy pulls a gun on Kirk, but good thing they never or on Spock. Good thing they never restrained Kirk, because he just sort of kicks it. He gets like 4 feet on his foot from out of the chair. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the gun that Captain Christopher picks up, and then through very weird blocking seems to get on the other side of everyone, which only lasts for a second because somehow Spock gets all the way on the other side of him. Mm-hmm. And then end act. Yeah, so now for some reason we end with Captain Christopher holding Kirk at gunpoint.
Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned, the last act wasn't the worst act, because that's this act. I'm gonna give it a 3 because of the chicken soup. But quality wise, this is a 2 for me.
Well, this base must have a very weird air general or something that makes them wear these foppish outfits.
I like how this is just Starship Troopers in your mind, Chuck.
Yeah. I was looking up whether it could be General Jack Ripper from Doctor Strangelove, but
oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I know it would fit. We're all going to dress like cowboys.
Get your pearl-handled guns, boys.
Yeah, I mean, the metalness just continues because the Air Force is as stupid and ineffective as Starfleet is. It's like...
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think you're right, Matt. Something about the slingshot, it just knocked everyone silly.
Although I do think you also make a good case that USPA is the successor to the Air Force in this. Well, we know the Marines are the Makos, for example. But yeah, maybe there's some truth here that we're being hinted at.
I think, yeah. It's just amazing how many, the United States is a superpower in this point in time, but that doesn't last forever. But it really says something about the influence it has on this future, completely unrelated service.
Oh, hold on. I just remembered that Sulu gave someone a karate chop. So I'm going to have to give my quality score a 1.5. I forgot about that. I just reread it in the script.
What's the thing called where they had them in New York, and like you'd go and you'd pay the money, like a giant vending machine, but it was a restaurant. So you go and you put like $50
an automat.
That's what the transporter replicator. I just saw the karate chop. That's what the transporter replicator. Yeah, the interrogation scene was so long, you breezed right through it. I didn't need to watch it.
No one does.
So anyway, yeah, automat. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it is basically an automat.
And
yeah,
they don't have currency. He has his chicken soup card and just sticks it in.
Yeah, and it makes the sound.
Yeah, I like how he just so happened to order the thing that was on the guy in the pajamas card.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm gonna go 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
3 is quality. 2 is metal. There was nothing metal about that. You don't order chicken soup if you're given free reign. What do you want to eat? You say something metal like
rack of lamb.
Like a bloody steak.
I do think the Air Force's incredibly ineffective interrogation may be more metal than an actual interrogation, which would probably cross some lines.
Or was it just incompetent?
Certainly in 1969, I think that's probably the case. Especially a guy wearing
you needed
pajamas.
That hand, did you? Yeah.
What are your numbers, Doug?
2 and 4.
2 metal, 4 quality.
Yeah, 2 quality, 4 metal.
4 metal. Okay.
There's definitely some unconscious bias there because he's Jim Kirk from Riverside, Iowa. Dude, I don't know why he's wearing this fruity uniform, but clearly nothing to this. Just a prank.
Why they're so mad? They like don't Iowa and Nebraska have some sort of college football feud?
Probably.
Also, no one cares. All right, go ahead.
No one cares at all. All right, let's get out of this chamber. We got one confusing act to go. So, we've been painted into a corner. Christopher is holding Kirk at gunpoint. Kirk tries to reason with him, but he doesn't need to for very long because Kirk does the old Vulcan neck pinch, and the the tension is done. And Spock says, I never trusted that guy. Okay, so we're out of that corner that we were painted in. And now we need to get back to the future.
I need to interrupt. You ever watch Naked and Afraid?
Yeah.
They like to manufacture a danger right before a commercial break. So you watch through the commercial break. And that's exactly how this played out. They'll hear some rustling. It's like, and they'll show, like, it'll be night, right? And they'll show some infrared camera of like foliage moving, right? And like, was that a puma? Right?
It's and like, then these woods are known for grizzly bears.
Right. And then the music goes, and then it's commercial. And when you come back, it's like, oh, it was a squirrel, you know. then it's next morning. Oh, I couldn't sleep, you know. Yeah, that whole thing was just manufactured. It's let's just raise the tension for the break, and then then do away with it so we can get on with things. So,
I mean, that is 1,000% what that whole thing was.
Yep.
Okay, so they beam up, and they need to figure out how to get back to the future.
Hey! Great Scott!
And
it's all about the slingshot effect we learn.
Yeah. So we learn about the slingshot effect. We learn about oh, you know what? We did miss something. We missed something in an earlier act. I think it was even Act 3 or Act 2. But there's a scene between Kirk and McCoy in which they're bickering about something. And McCoy says, Spock, you need to be working on the computations for the slingshot. You can't be doing all this bullshit. And Spock says, I am. Because, you know, Spock's like a super thinker. So we need to mention that. So Spock has figured all the computations. He doesn't need to do it from memory. He's got his computer and stuff. And so the plan, I really don't know. I really don't understand this plan. What's the plan? They slingshot around the sun to go backward. What happens?
Yeah, the chronometer is going backwards, but they appear to be driving forwards. I thought being flung backwards made you go back in time.
No. If you fly toward the sun, you seek out the magnetic attraction, then pull away at full power. That whiplash.
Oh,
the whiplash in time,
like a rubber band being stretched
like a rubber band. Yeah,
but why was it? If it's that easy just to fling around a star, why did the Borg Queen something time travel, etc.? The rest of my point.
Because her quantum whatever was much more efficient.
I only saw those once. Yeah, but they flung around the sun at warp 3. I mean,
it's probably more accurate to use tachyons or something. Okay, so you're saying what you do is you fly around the sun and that pulls the rubber band, right? And then it contracts.
Right. The faster and faster you head towards the sun, you begin to move backwards and go beyond the current point.
You move back and then forward.
Right, as the sun releases you, that's when you start to head forward.
All right. So anyway, I don't know why they didn't realize this the whole fucking time. But they realized that they'll be moving backwards in time for a little bit. So the plan is just to beam the Captain Christopher and the staff sergeant they didn't give a fucking name for, this guy. They're going to beam them to where they were when they encountered the Enterprise and they won't remember, or they'll murder them or something.
Isn't it going to be in the middle of the sky then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he will be.
And we do learn that precision apparently doesn't really matter. You can you work in increments as big as a minute.
Yeah, it's just like ish. It's like if you're within a minute, you're fine. They're beaming someone into someone, like it would be like if you're sitting there, right? And then we would beam you to where you are.
Wait,
now
what?
You're at least murdering one of those people, right? Because there's two of them. There's two of them. There's one on the Enterprise and one on the plane, or one in the airbase. You mash them together, but you're just murdering somebody. I don't know who. Like, are they just vaporizing these two guys? They could be.
I bet the same general escape pattern happens in Star Trek 4, but it's a very technical detail, and it wasn't relevant to the story then. That's why we're only talking about it now. Right.
Because couldn't they have just picked up Chekhov before he fell off the? No. It doesn't matter. Maybe because Spock had to do it from memory, they didn't get the full. Anyway, so that's the plan. So they vaporize the ones that are on the Enterprise, but they avoid the contact. So that means they don't remember their time on the Enterprise, right? I don't know, but it seems to resolve everything. The Enterprise.
The slingshot also works on their brain.
Right. We should also mention that Captain Christopher is the first American airman in interstellar space. Fuck you, all those Apollo guys. And I'm pretty sure he's not, because other Apollo missions have happened. But who cares? They're not historians. They're Starfleet officers.
And they do seem to like Captain Christopher getting to the transporter room. There seems to be a lack of urgency.
Yeah.
It all works out. I guess they timed it right.
Everything seems to work well. When he's back in his ship, or his plane, he just says, "Mark it down as another UFO. I'm coming back to base." That's not a satisfactory answer. It's like, oh no, it was just something. Now it's gone. Time to get out of here. It's like, that seems like the worst thing to do.
I could have sworn there was some kind of ship, but nothing could have moved that fast.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I also don't get why he's the only person flying, but his call sign is Blue Jay 4. Like, are there other Blue Jays in the formation? Like, why is he Blue Jay 4? Where's Blue Jay Leader?
Calling back to our MLB American League episode, we decided Blue Jays are not metal.
Yeah, no, not so metal. Sulu, as they continue to rocket out of the solar system, Sulu mentions non-planet Pluto. I guess because he's
maybe he meant the Pluto-Charon system.
Maybe he's just mentioning every Kuiper belt object that's totally useless. Also, Spock keeps doing his job and telling Kirk exactly when things are going to happen, like he's counting down. And Kirk seems annoyed at that. Like, Spock is literally doing what you need. He says, we're 5 minutes away. We're 3 minutes away. We're 2. Like, wouldn't you want that in a precision mover like time travel?
Yeah, so then they have to put on the space brakes.
Space brakes, yep.
For some reason.
Well, because they don't want to go to the future. Then they're in the opposite problem.
Well, I think breaking is just kind of a term of art here because they do talk about full reverse on the engines.
Right.
Right. Well, did you notice that Sulu, when they put on the space brakes, they all go, but you know when you do rock, scissors, paper, and sometimes someone goes on paper,
Mm-hmm.
you know, instead of rock, scissors, paper, go, you know?
Well,
Sulu went on paper and everyone else went on go.
Oh.
There's some quirks with the artificial gravity at this time.
And also, as the helmsman, Sulu just might be bracing himself because he can see readings that other people can't. And that might be a preventative throwing himself because he's an expert about how the inertial dampeners work. I'm sure that's not a mistake. So, the braking maneuver works. The engines start to buckle, but there's no problem. The computer gives them a little lip, but tells them that they're home. Starfleet Control says, "What's up? What are you guys doing?" And that's the end of the episode.
For some reason, Kirk needs to repeat the message to Starfleet Control, even though they heard it.
Yeah.
Why is there a red star?
I don't know.
All the stars are white except there's one red star.
That's let's do
the thing and get out of here.
Okay.
None of the math adds up. I don't like it. Quality 1. They built up like all this stuff, and then they go around the sun, and then they hit the space brake. I don't know. It's dumb. Don't like it. And metalness. I don't know. Also 1. It's a bunch of 1s. I was very disappointed in this ending. They seem to just wrap it up real quick.
Yeah.
Wait. What did I give the worst act?
You gave that a 2 and a 3.
Okay. Well, a 1 and a 2.1. There we go.
Which is 2.1, the metal score?
Yeah, it's the ones.
I'm going to go 2 and 2. There's nothing offensive here, and everyone is more competent all of a sudden. So it's not even metal.
You know why, Doug? Because they're approaching their real time. So the temporal, what is that thing? Remember when the runabout with Troy and Geordi and Captain Picard and Data, they had some kind of like temporal psychosis because they were out of phase with time. So that explains why everyone's a dick.
I think they call it at this point in time space crazy.
Space crazy.
I remember what Janice Rand said.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna split the difference and give it a 2.1 metal score and a 1.2 quality score. This is like
says this is the first Star Trek episode to be written solely by a woman, Dorothy Fontana.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Dorothy Fontana had previously written the teleplay for the episode Charlie X, but the story was credited to Gene Roddenberry. And it's still DC Fontana is how she's credited. Dorothy Catherine Fontana passed away in 2019.
Yeah, no, she is a titan in Star Trek. She wrote a lot of amazing scrips. Not
this one.
Well,
you gotta have some duds before you know.
I feel like a lot of the things in this script are like just how much I'm pretty sure that the whole computer thing is just being annoyed at Gene Roddenberry. We should point out that
it's like spiteful. I like that.
Majel Barrett, Gene Roddenberry's future wife, is the voice of the computer. This is the first time she's the voice of the computer.
And I think they need to deliver a bottle episode, and this is a disguised bottle episode, and it's inoffensive for what it is.
I also get the sense that she was just trying to do too much.
Maybe she was going like, these fucking nerds don't care. I'll mail in the ending. Who cares?
I
gave them the guns they wanted.
We mentioned that this episode was supposed to tie in with The Naked Time, and kind of the time warp thing was supposed to go from The Naked Time into this episode. So I think this episode has been messed around with a lot, and maybe if Dorothy,
the writer, if Always Sunny is anything to go by, they all write all the episodes. It's just like then they kind of deal it out to all the writers, and like you're in charge of this one, but everyone writes it. But then they only credit it to one. So, who knows if that's how things have always been. But
I mean, it's definitely true in Next Gen. I think here it was more like you wrote it, and then if Gene Roddenberry was there, he'd rewrite it to death. And then
steal your credit.
Whenever possible.
Apparently she wrote 3 Babylon 5 episodes, 1 Deep Space Nine episode.
Mm-hmm.
5
She's
episodes of Star Trek,
yeah.
The Next Generation, associate producer, story editor, yeah.
I mean,
then every the first season, I think.
She quit after the first season
of Next Gen.
Yeah, and then like every sci-fi thing you can think of, she was involved in, and Dallas.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
impressive.
She wrote
impressive resume.
Yesteryear, like the most iconic, episode of the animated series, and a lot of her episodes, especially her second and third season episodes, are great.
I still didn't like the ending, but impressive resume nonetheless.
I mean, but it could also be just direction, visualizing. Going from the teleplay to the
Roddenberry could have ruined it. You never know.
Yeah, budgets.
She did let's just assume she did the first draft, and then whatever happened.
Yeah. So where are we? Well, we're not in a great place. This is a 46.5. It's better than Shore Leave. It's better than Mud's Women, but that's about all we can say. Just to put it in perspective, our objective method says you would probably enjoy watching Miri better than watching Tomorrow is Yesterday. But fear not, podcast and downers, because coming up next time is a genuinely incredible episode. So we see you in some subjective hours, months, or days as we slingshot back to good Star Trek with motherfucking Court Martial.
Oh no, it seemed like you were building to the ending.
I was.
The proper decisions, the right time.